I'm Tim Kittro, and here to bring home the bacon are Big Ryan the Fat Guy.
I don't get all the hoopla there. The Ram Ranch was actually quite nice. What's up, YouTube? It's the NFL Week 8 picks against the spread video for the 2020 NFL season. Fat Guy, we're 49, 55, and 1 for the season. 8 and 6 this week. No one cares what you think, so let's get straight into the picks. Thursday Night Football. Atlanta Falcons at the Carolina Panthers, who are 3-point favorites at home. 62% of early bettors are on the Panthers. Fat Guy, who you got?
We're going to go Atlanta Falcons. We're going to go ineptitude. We're going to go against the cover machine that is Teddy Two Gloves Bridgewater. We're big fans of Teddy Bridgewater in the show, and same with a lot of our viewers. He seems to cover an awful lot. 7.5 was way too many points last weekend against the New Orleans Saints in a divisional game. Last time they laid points, who was it? I think it was against Chicago, Big Rye. And I think we're on the right side of that. Well, thanks again for helping and fact checking. As usual, you're a gem to have on the show. But all that being said, I think this leans to a Falcons pick. Is there ineptitude in the Falcons? Yes. Are the Panthers a better coach team? Absolutely. I'm going to be taking the Falcons in the contest. I'll be considering to take them as a bet. If I can get the line to peak up a little bit to 3.5 points, perhaps get a little bit of positive juice on the Falcons, who have had 3 late game collapses that had roughly 95, 96% win probability or more for all of them. Some misfortune and coaching gaffes. Despite Todd Gurley's best efforts. And that was one of the plays, I think, of the week. And this should be discussed in the comment section below. Do you think scoring a touchdown at the end of the Falcons-Detroit Lions game was a good play by Gurley? Or what he attempted to do, was that better to pretty much take the time all the way down and attempt a field goal? I feel like the win probability is at least 5 to 10% higher in taking the clock down at the half-yard line and attempting a field goal. I get that it could be blocked or it could be missed, but I mean, I'll take my shot at winning with that, especially when my defense is playing how the Atlanta Falcons have been. But I feel like they're gaining almost some traction with Raheem Morris. There's a bit of a Ewing theory: remove the coach, the team gets better. I'm hoping that that's the case with the Falcons, despite a great showing of ineptitude against the Detroit Lions. I mean, they were able to rattle off a win against the Minnesota Vikings, unless I'm incorrect for some reason. But I do like the Falcons this week, but not as a bet unless I can get them plus 3.5 with good juice. The Panthers are going to be good for going forward. I just don't like laying points with them right now.
Fat Guy, let's move on to the Sunday early games. We'll start off with probably the marquee matchup of the week, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. The Ravens are currently 3.5 point favorites at home. Only 26% of early bettors are on the Ravens. Fat Guy, who you got?
Why isn't this the Sunday night game? I'm going to start with a gripe. Why?
I have
Doesn't
no
make any
clue,
sense to me.
especially considering that the Sunday night game this week, as it's slated now, is the Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know people are low on the Cowboys. Forget the Eagles. People are very, very low on the Cowboys. It would be very nice to see this game flex to Sunday night.
I don't know if you can. I thought you can only do afternoon games, but this better be the Sunday night game. It's the best game of the week as far as I'm concerned. It's a heavyweight tilt. Undefeated Steelers against the single-loss Ravens. We're going to be taking Baltimore. I don't like laying points in the contest. 3.5 is not a number I like, but in this case, I'm going to be doing it. I hope the number creeps down to 3. And then I can throw a few shekels on them, perhaps. 2.5 would be chef's kiss. It would be fantastic. Salt Bay it is. I'm going to be, I guess it's off the elbow or something. I got a fat elbow, though, so that's a long lane. I like the Baltimore Ravens, but I don't love them. I'm really just interested in this game as a football fan, to be honest. The Steelers were able to knock off a fellow undefeated team in the Tennessee Titans, holding off a comeback. And they've been riding high ATS, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this should be a good spot for the Ravens, who are coming off a bye as well. 3.5 is an ominous number for me. But like I said, I'll be taking them in the contest. I'll be laying the points. And, betting-wise, I want it to come down before I have any ideas. Mind you, if I got 3.5 at even money, I might consider it. So it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to be laying the points. And let's just get some popcorn. Let's be excited for this matchup.
Speaking of getting excited and grabbing some popcorn, next up is the New York Jets traveling to the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are 19.5-point favorites. 47% of bettors are on the Chiefs. Fat Guy, I know at the end of our live stream tonight, this Jets-Chiefs game was talked about a lot. Who you got?
Well, I was with our viewership. We quite like the Jets, but this line kind of sucks. I wish we got the earlier one, which opened anywhere from 22.5, 21.5. Depends where you got it. It was a little bit higher. At the higher you go, the less the points actually mean. So you only use a little bit of one win probability rather when buying a bum line on 19.5. But there are rumors, and you heard it here first in theory, that Mahomes does have the virus. So that could prove to be a red herring. This might not be true at the time of recording, but that is some of the information that slid across the desk. And I have heard it in multiple sources now. I mean, it just could be the same. It's one of those things about news. If people read the same thing or hear the same thing, it could be the same piece of information just spread amongst different people. That is a possibility. But even if that's not true, I don't mind 19.5 points. I really don't, because there's no real incentive to crush the Jets by any more than this. Of course, they had an unreal effort against the Denver Broncos, but don't forget all the Broncos game against the Chiefs. I mean, some of the Vegas insiders and bookmakers said, as usual, the public was all over the Chiefs and the pros were on the Broncos. But even if you make a good EV wager, that doesn't mean you're going to get the result. It's a long-term thing. There's never just one game. And even if you were a 70% better, if you risk too much of your bankroll, let's say 50%, eventually you will go broke. You will. It's just the nature of things. So that's why you bet conservatively and you roll with the punches. And that does mean you're going to lose, such as like Denver +9, I still think is a great bet that happened this weekend, but the Chiefs were able to roll on them. Are they able to do that to the Jets considering what they did to the Broncos? Absolutely. But I still like the Jets with the points. They got their first cover, 0-7, but they were able to get the cover. And Jets +19.5 is okay. I don't love it. I'm probably going to we already did put a few bucks on it just because of the chance that Mahomes is out. Chad Henne is going to have a lot tougher of a time putting up 20 than Patrick Mahomes. So give me the Jets. Give me the points.
Fat Guy, next up, the Tennessee Titans travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals, who are 5.5-point underdogs at home. 39% of early bettors are on the Bengals. Who you got?
Bengals, one of the more covering teams of the year. They've been fantastic. Joe Burrow, everyone loves them. I feel like there's some serious betting confidence on the Cincinnati Bengals, and that makes me like the Titans. Titans are a better team top to bottom. You could make an argument that Joe Burrow could compete at quarterback with Ryan Tannehill, but the blistering run game of the Tennessee Titans, I think, should be a little bit of a difficult spot for the Bengals. I do understand that there is some early sharp money on the Titans. This market should subside a little bit. I think as far as betting the game, I think you could wait for this market to mature because, like I said, Joe Burrow is turning heads. I mean, they didn't get the win against Cleveland, but that wasn't his fault. He was just a monster. He had a monster day. There was an interesting play at the end of the Cleveland-Cincinnati Bengals game. There was a missed Cody Parkey point after try, and that swung for some bettors. If you had 3.5 like we did, the Bengals, that gave you the victory. And you got to push if you had 3, Bengals +3. And if you had Cleveland 2.5, you still got the victory anyways. So it was a very interesting point after try. It's so weird how these things boil down to such minimal things, but some very sharp lines as of late. This one could be one of them. I don't think there's a ton of meat on the bone, but I do feel like Tennessee is worth a 5.5-point favorite, and I don't mind laying the points in this instance. So it'll be a contest pick, but it'll be a wait and see mature market bet on Tennessee perhaps later down the road.
Next up, the LA Rams travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins, who are 3.5-point underdogs at home. 56% of early bettors are on the Dolphins. Fat Guy, who you got?
Rams, a lot of primetime spotlight, let's say, and I just said who you got, and I just say Rams right away. That's not who I got. I got the Miami Dolphins. That's who I like. We are betting on a rookie, and which is unfortunate for Ryan Fitzpatrick, but that is the nature of things, and we are taking risks. But the Rams, they lay an egg against San Francisco. Were able to rebound with a very strong defensive performance against the Chicago Bears. That is one thing that gives me a little bit of trepidations about this game. Is Tua is arguably going against perhaps the best performing defense in the NFL. Is that fair to say, Big Rye?
They've played very well to start the season.
It's hard to argue. I mean, they don't quite have the star-studded names other than all-world defensive player in Aaron Donald, who seems to get in on there in every play. That does give me a little bit of worry. But I like the Dolphins. They've been a favorite of mine to bet on because you get points a lot, and they're an underrated team. Obviously, that underrated perception is slowly slowly being stripped away just by their such good performances, i.e. their spectacular win a few weeks ago against the San Francisco 49ers. All of that being said, I'm going to get 3.5 points on a large travel game, by the way, where home field might still be an advantage considering the Rams are going right across the country to Miami to play the Dolphins. Dolphins plus 3.5 speaks to me. I am a little bit worried about having to bet on a rookie quarterback in his maiden start. So 3.5 points in the Dolphins seems like the play, although this would be a smaller unit play for me just on the grounds of that, just in the uncertainty of quarterback play. So don't forget, too, if it doesn't work out or if he struggles, there is the option of Fitzmagic, who has been fantastic this week. He lost his job not because of performance, more because they probably wanted to get more reps in for their rookie in what the Dolphins shouldn't necessarily be a competitive year, but they're not that behind in the division. They really aren't. I think just 2 wins. So give me the Dolphins and give me the points.
Next up, the Indianapolis Colts travel to Detroit to take on the Lions, who are 2.5-point underdogs at home. 48% of early bettors are on the Lions. Fat Guy, who you got?
I feel like I'm laying points more this week than any other time, and I'm going to be doing that again with the Indianapolis Colts. Between the two teams, I feel one team is coached much, much, much better than the other. So maybe that's a handicapping purpose considering the stagnant market factors just on this Monday evening, which a lot of these games have a low betting percentage. And this one isn't going to be a popular game to begin with. So I would expect it has low early numbers and even lower finale numbers as far as bets placed on them. So I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to lay the 2.5 points. And I figure this is a due down situation for the Detroit Lions for obvious reasons, winning a game that in I guess, heroic, almost unconvincing fashion with a last-second touchdown to T.J. Hawkinson for the Detroit Lions. I don't mind Matt Stafford, but I think this coaching staff is inept. They don't understand clock management, among other things. And since market factors aren't making this a easy play one way or another, I do think that the Indianapolis Colts will be the contest pick. And I am feeling a little bit good as far as my acumen picking games outside of the market. So there's a chance that I will be betting on the Colts, but I usually use the market as the biggest honing stick, let's say. So Colts laying the points.
Next up, the New England Patriots travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills, who are 4-point favorites at home. 57% of early bettors are on the Bills. Fat Guy, who you got?
Speaking of due up, we'll be taking the Patriots. During the first few years of this show, I never took them. Never. Almost never. Like maybe twice. I say never, and then I give 2 examples. Well, the list 2 examples. Anyways, I'll be taking New England Patriots. I'll be taking 4 points. The Bills, I don't think are as good as their record necessarily says. They beat the Jets with, 6 field goals, Big Rye?
Yeah, 18 points.
18 points. I mean, that's not... We did kind of forecast this type of result. I mean, people seem to be more outraged that the Bills didn't score a touchdown rather than them not being able to, than them winning the game, actually, which I find a little bit strange. I do like the New England Patriots with the 4 points. They got absolutely embarrassed by the San Francisco 49ers. And I think that should change here in a divisional game in which the Patriots are still a formidable foe, I feel like, despite a record that Bill Belichick most certainly is not accustomed to. So I'll be taking the New England Patriots. I'll be taking the 4 points. And I'm starting to like this one a little bit. I feel like the Bills might get a little bit more traction. This is a little bit harder of a market because people will feel jilted by the Buffalo Bills because they didn't cover against the Jets, which people think should be an easy cover. They did win the game by 8 points. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't get blown out by the Jets. On the flip side, some people might forgive the 49ers for losing to a strong 49ers squad. Forgive the Patriots, rather. So I'm not really sure which way the market is going to go. But I don't mind having to buy at 3.5 when I could possibly get 4.5. You know what I mean? So that half point is more valuable to me. 4.5 with good juice would certainly be a bet on the Pats. So give me the Patriots, give me the 4 points in the contest. We'll wait and see on the bets.
Next up, the Raiders travel to Cleveland to take on the Browns, who are 2.5-point favorites at home. 33% of early bettors are on the Browns. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, the early bettors like the Raiders because I do. This is a do-up, do-down. Emotional win for the Cleveland Browns. A downtrodden, embarrassing loss for the Raiders at home to the, again, I'm going to use that word, formidable, or as the French say, formidable, against the Buccaneers. So, I mean, the Browns kind of riding high. What are we at, Big Rye? 5-2 here?
I believe so.
That's one of the best records the Browns had. I mean, it did have a 10-6 in the last 10 years, but that's the best one. Probably the best record since 1993. I seem to say that every weekend. I don't have my Browns gear on, but that was a stunning comeback, and I enjoyed it despite being on the Bengals. That Cody Parkey miss really, really felt good. I got the Browns win. I got the Bengals cover. It's a best of both worlds. That being said, I'm going to be taking the Oakland Raiders. 2.5 points would certainly be a contest pick. It'll be Raiders money line. Raiders money line as a bet. I'll probably just wait though. I mean, realistically, how much am I going to lose? Maybe a sprinkle on the money line now, and then perhaps an addition later on. Hopefully, I could just get 3 or 3.5. But I don't know. This feels like a line that's just going to be rock solid at 2.5. These are pretty even teams realistically, but I do feel there's a few percentage points right now on the Raiders considering this real bad loss, like black eye of a loss, 45-20, I believe, to the Buccaneers. Give me the Raiders. Give me the points. Give me the money line. And it's weird. It's weird seeing the Browns as favorites, 2 weeks in a row at least. On to the next one.
All right, Fat Guy, the last early game, the Minnesota Vikings travel to Green Bay to take on the Packers, who are 7-point favorites at home. 63% of early bettors are on the Packers. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, we're going to be taking the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to be taking the 7 points. And hopefully I can get good juice, and hopefully I can get a half point, right? Because the Minnesota Vikings, they're coming off a bye, right?
Their last game was against the Falcons on the 18th. So, yep, coming off a bye this week against the Packers.
Yeah, coming off a bye. So, I mean, I feel like that should benefit the Vikings just a little bit. They did lose pass rusher Yannick Ngakoue, but I mean, it's a couple sacks. I mean, how much is that really going to affect this game? The Vikings are interesting on offense. I don't think Dalvin Cook is coming back, from what I understand this week. So there is some luster to be had, but Justin Jefferson's playing quite well, and this is an interesting offense. Just hard to keep Kirk Cousins upright with such a woeful offensive line. All of that being said, that's just market stuff. I do think the Green Bay Packers are a little bit overvalued. They did play a similar team, I guess, in Houston, which is kind of a good measuring stick. But I'm getting far more points than Houston did in 7. So 7 points in the Vikings speaks to me. Hopefully, I can get 7.5. If it shifts down to 6.5, it'll probably be no bet. I think some shops have it at 6.5, but 7 should be a number I would be searching for. 7 or 7.5 with the Vikings does seem like the correct play. I mean, obviously, Green Bay could blow them out of the water, but I like taking points in these divisional games. Give me the Vikings. Give me the points.
On to the 2 afternoon games. We'll start off with the New Orleans Saints traveling to Chicago to take on the Bears, who are 3-point underdogs at home. 51% of early bettors are on the Bears. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, they disappointed on Monday night for Bears bettors. That means they are due up. And we're going to follow that system again here, and we're going to get the due up Bears. This line is so fresh. This is right out of the water. So I could see some movement here on the Saints, who I believe also had a bye. Or sorry, no, they did not. They played the Carolina Panthers. Got my wires crossed. It happens from time to time. So the Saints weren't able to cover, but they were able to get a victory. So that, I mean, as far as bettors go, they generally look at win-loss record, not necessarily ATS. That doesn't mean anything to them. So the amateur is going to like the Saints because of the eye test failure of the Bears. So that means that there should be close to closing, like right when this game is about to kick off. I would imagine that the line shifts to Bears +3 with good juice at home, or Bears +3.5. And don't forget, the Saints are traveling. I mean, there obviously isn't very much home field advantage, but the Saints aren't playing in a dome, I can tell you that much. And we're getting a little bit chilly here, so I think I haven't seen the weather report, and they usually aren't very good at forecasting a week in advance considering the time of this recording. So I am going to take the Bears. I am going to take the points. And I feel like home field is going to matter in some situations, and this slightly will be one of them. So Bears in the points really speaks to me, but I'm hoping I can get a better line, i.e. Bears +3.5.
The other midday game, I think a game that people will be looking forward to, is the San Francisco 49ers traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks, who are 3-point favorites at home. 52% of early bettors are on the Seahawks. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, shout out to a lower mainland native, Dakota M. Won't give the whole last name. We're going to be taking the Seahawks. He wanted us to do it just once, and I think this is the spot. Seahawks had, I'm going to say, the most thrilling game I can remember against the Arizona Cardinals. It was absolutely unbelievable. It had very highs. It had a dip to kind of bring you up for such a great finale. We were happy to be on the good side of that one, getting the Cardinals +3.5, where the points weren't even needed. Money line would have been the maximum play. The Seahawks, of course, losing, tarnishing their undefeated record against division rival Arizona Cardinals, who they seem to have trouble with, kind of like Miami and New England. It's like the one divisional team that seems to do okay against them, where everyone else in the league doesn't. I don't mind laying the 3 points with the Seattle Seahawks. I think San Francisco is a comparable team, but I think San Francisco has been riding high. They bounced back since their woeful performance against the Miami Dolphins, and the Seattle Seahawks suffered an emotional loss. And let's look for an emotional win, where San Francisco, they're the opposite. They're not due up, they're due down. They had a masterful performance against New England, showing a multifaceted offense, who's going to have a little bit tougher of a time against a shootout style offense in the Seattle Seahawks, who I think can go tit for tat with anybody. And of course, Seattle has the best player in all of football, Russell Wilson. You can argue Patrick Mahomes. I'm okay with that. Those are the only two realistically. I'm going to take the Seahawks, which I rarely get to do, and I'm going to lay the 3 points. Let's go Hawks.
All right, Fat Guy, on to Sunday Night Football, at least how it's slated now, with the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Philly to take on the Eagles, who are 7.5-point favorites at home. 63% of early bettors are on the Eagles. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, I mean, is it Ben DiNucci? Is it Andy Dalton? I don't know who they got. They're going to sign Cooper Rush. Let's go, Cowboys. This is purely a contest pick. It'd be hard for me to gamble on it with the uncertainty at quarterback. Andy Dalton, of course, taking a real nasty hit on the noggin from John Bostic in the Washington game, which we were on the right side of. Pretty good weekend. Very satisfied with it. The Eagles aren't great. We expect this game to be flexed out. There's got to be something you can put on. I mean, even if they flex in, if they can't do Baltimore and Pittsburgh, Seattle, San Francisco, wow. Why not? Why not? All that being said, this is going to be an ugly game. I thought it was an ugly Thursday for the Eagles. They shouldn't really be laying points against anyone, I guess, outside of their division, Big Rye, and the Jets maybe. Speaking of which, I want to know in the comment section, we're able to get a lot of line prognostication. If you had a gun to your head and you had to take a dog, the Jets plus 19.5 or the Cowboys plus 7.5, let me know what you think. You got to get an ugly dog. Which one are you taking this week? Mine would be the Jets. This is an ugliest game of the week. The line's down in a lot of spots, but 7.5, we have to put a number on it. That'll be it. It is up at some shops. So I'll be taking the Cowboys. I don't love it. It's purely a contest pick. Although I will wait to see. There could be some massive line movement, perhaps in favor of the Cowboys, considering they could have Ben DiNucci starting and a plethora of injuries on the offensive line, which might not even make the difference. Maybe some guys come back and maybe the Eagles have a woeful performance again like they did on Thursday night, which was oddly entertaining, but for not in all the right reasons like Arizona and Seattle was on Sunday evening. Give me the Cowboys and the points, but this is a contest pick and a wait and see.
I'm going to add to that, Fat Guy, saying you can also throw in the Giants at plus 10.5 with those ugly underdog picks in the comment section. But on to Monday Night Football, Tampa Bay at New York. Giants are 10.5-point underdogs at home. 20% of early bettors are on the Giants. Fat Guy, who you got?
I'm going to disagree. I like the Giants in this spot. I like them quite well, actually. Bucks are riding exceedingly high. Giants were able to cover it. This is why I disagree. It's not as ugly. The Giants have had some impressive covers. They covered against the Cowboys. That's not so impressive. They covered against the Rams. They could have won the game very easily on Thursday night against the Eagles. They're a quiet cover team. And, they're in really tough here against the Bucks. Bucks are far superior in just about every metric. I just maybe I have a romanticized version in my head of the Bucks Daniel Jones shootout, I believe 2 years ago, where Daniel Jones ran in a touchdown to win the game. I'm hoping not necessarily the Bucks win the game. That was, of course, in Tampa Bay. I'm hoping that he at least competes. Lose by 7, lose by 9. Give us a cover. I like the Giants. I think they're going to be they're a bad team that is capable of covering, way more so than the Cowboys at this moment and way more so than the Jets. I don't think it's ugly. Give me the New York Giants. Give me the points, and just give me a competitive football team. I understand that the Bucks can blow out anybody, but Giants and the points at home in prime time, I don't think it's too unreasonable.
All right, Fat Guy, on to the lightning round. Thursday Night Football, Atlanta at Carolina.
Atlanta Falcons.
Sunday's early games, Pittsburgh at Baltimore.
Baltimore Ravens.
Jets at Chiefs.
The ugly Jets.
Titans Bengals.
Laying points with the Tennessee Titans.
Rams Dolphins.
Dolphins in the points.
Colts Lions.
Colts laying the points.
New England at Buffalo.
Bounce back New England.
Raiders Browns.
Vegas money line.
Vikings Packers.
Minnesota.
On to Sunday's midday games, Saints at the Bears.
Take the Bears.
San Fran at Seattle.
Finally, the Seahawks.
The scheduled Sunday night game, Dallas at Philly.
Good way of putting it, Big Rye. We'll take Danuch and the Dallas Cowboys.
And Monday Night Football, Tampa Bay at the New York Football Giants.
We'll take the New York Giants.
All right, Fat Guy. The 2020 Week 7 winner is 999 Art, going 11-3, good for 78.6%. And it was a close week because one of our more loyal followers throughout the years, Show Me Your Touchdowns, was also 11-3. Just lost out because of the OU. 999 Art had 30 for the Monday night game. Show Me Your TDs, 48. So 999 Art takes it home with the Price is Right rules. As well, I know you're going to touch on this later, but Billy369 and Cassone both go 10-4 this week. We also have Zim Needs for Hims at 10-4, Carson's Glass Arm at 10-4, a.k.a. Jive Turkey at 9-5, Guns N' Arrows Glock Lesnar, Couldn't Cut the Mostert, all at 9 wins. Congratulations to everybody for an excellent Week 7 as far as the top 10 is concerned. And then, Fat Guy, I'm going to let you take it over for the overall leaderboard.
This is a heavyweight fight. Cassone, Billy369. I think Billy369 started the morning 8-0. Every week, these guys it's just insane. This pace, like I said, it will eventually come down. but every week they seem to doing their best to prove me wrong. 65 and 64.4% respectively. Of course, just one Thursday night loss extra for Billy 369. They are fighting it out, and this is an interesting one. I mean, if you were following these guys' picks, you would have made some serious dough. Do-re-mi, that is. I'm really excited to see which one is able to pull it out. But don't forget, this contest is never over. Everyone can compete. Anyone can come back. There's always that opportunity. Even us, I highly doubt it, but there is that opportunity. Congratulations to such a great start to the first half of the year between Cassone, Billy 369, and the rest in the top 10.
All right, Fat Guy, on to the JS715. Name of the week. We'll start off with the honorable mentions.
Well, we're going to start off with a Thomas Aquinas philosophical quote extraction. I bet, therefore I am. I guess you can't gamble unless you exist. That's true. Ryan Fitzpatrick's tears. It's a tough one, real tough one. I felt bad for the guy. He's I don't know. He's fun. He's a fun player to watch. He can beat anyone, lose to anyone. That's a high variance player that is very interesting. Parlay Pauly. I have to. It's much to the chagrin of some of our viewers, but we really have a disdain for almost all parlays. We find them extremely negative VV for the most part, so I have to touch on it at least some point, and this was a good way to segue into it. Born in a Mud Hole. I have a feeling this is another viewer with a second name because they named their email Born in a Mud Hole. So I have to call out deception when I see it, and this might be it. At least I have a better record than the NFC least. Well, I would imagine you do. The NFC East isn't exactly been that good. So this is why you're getting in honorable mentions. Hot Chub Chime Machine. It's one of those classic punny fantasy football names. And I hadn't heard it yet, so we're throwing it in. Fat Guy gave my girlfriend COVID. Well, I don't think so unless she has a penis. Fat Guy Squared. That would be a number longer than pi without the decimal point if that were the case as far as LBs go. And on to the winner.
This is the JS715 Name of the Week. Whoa, kaboom!
Zim Needs for Hymns. This is, of course, alluding to the one-eyed, ageless wonder Mike Zimmer and his lust for the young female. You should check out Zimmer's prowess in the dating game. It's to be revered by all. And For Hymns is definitely a product he should consider purchasing so he can get as much bang for his buck, if you know what I mean. Thank you for this wonderful name that just connected the dots all across the board. Zim Needs for Hymns.
Remember, you can make your picks for Week 8 at BigRyanTheFatGuy.com. There's $100 US prize for most regular season wins. Fat Guy, that's it for us for the NFL Week 8 Picks Against the Spread video. Your thoughts?
I'm not as jazzed, I got to be honest, on this week, but I do feel like we're more balanced maybe between dogs and favorites. Like, it almost seems like we're 50-50. I'm just obviously just looking at it right now. I hadn't counted it in my head. But maybe this is the secret sauce to get that perfect number. We shall see, but I'm not as confident, I'll be honest, as last week. There aren't as many clear bets. Last week was a big one. I'm hoping there's more like that down the line. But this is more of an interesting market wait and see. Point in case, we do have market videos, so stay tuned for those.